The acrid scent of plasma discharge hung heavy in the air as Lieutenant Mara Kessler stepped through the wreckage of what had once been the Varelian sky bastion. Ionized smoke rolled across the broken platform in slow, ghost-like waves. Twisted anti-air turrets sparked and died in uneven pulses, casting stuttering shadows across fractured crystal towers. Somewhere below the floating fortress, a gravity engine failed with a distant, thunderous groan before plunging into silence. Her boots crushed shattered alloy and spent casings. The ground glittered with fragments of iridescent architecture, once elegant, now pulverized into debris. Burned banners clung to jagged spires, their alien sigils half-melted into unrecognizable scars. The battlefield was silent. Too silent. Kessler adjusted her grip on her M88 Gauss rifle, the magnetic rails humming softly along its spine. Her HUD flickered across the inside of her visor, ammo at 41%. Shield integrity unstable. Atmospheric toxins rising. Suit servos compensating for a microfracture in her right knee joint. A warning blinked in amber. Squad status: unknown. Command link: lost. Extraction: unavailable. She toggled thermal overlay. Nothing but cooling corpses and fading heat signatures. Motion sweep: clear. Wideband comm ping: static. Wind howled across the broken bastion, carrying with it the faint metallic tang of blood, human and Varelian alike. Kessler stepped over a collapsed support arch and scanned the ruined courtyard again. No friendly signals. No squad markers. No dropship beacon cutting through the haze. Just one faint life sign pulsing beneath a mountain of fallen crystal near the central dais, tagged earlier as a high-value Varelian commander. Her jaw tightened. She might be the last one standing. And whoever was still alive out there had been left behind. Kessler's HUD pulsed again. Life sign: critical. Movement detected. Weak. Intermittent. Buried beneath the collapsed central dais where the Varelian command platform once hovered. She vaulted a slab of fractured crystal and approached carefully, rifle sweeping left to right. The debris here wasn't just shattered stone, it was living architecture, semi-organic latticework that still glowed faintly where it had been torn apart. Beneath the debris lay a figure that didn't belong to the smoke and ruin. At first glance, the alien looked like part of the broken structure, her body formed of sleek, pearl-sheened plating that resembled sculpted armor grown rather than forged. Fine lines of turquoise bioluminescence traced elegant geometric patterns across her limbs and throat, though the glow flickered erratically. 4 slender arms lay pinned at unnatural angles beneath the weight of a collapsed support beam. Translucent fin-like crests framed her head, now cracked and dulled with ash. A mantle of filamentous tendrils spilled across the rubble like silver threads, dim but still faintly luminous. Varelian command cast. High rank. High value. Her chest rose shallowly. Kessler slung her rifle and wedged both hands beneath the fractured beam. The exosuit whined as she engaged assisted lift. With a grinding shriek, the beam shifted just enough for her to drag the alien partially free. The alien's eyes snapped open. Sharp. Intelligent. Defiant. They were a deep, liquid blue, almost black at the center, focused and aware despite the blood pooling beneath her lower torso. "You are human," the alien rasped, voice layered in harmonic undertones. "Yeah," Kessler replied. The alien tried to move. Nothing happened. Her lower body remained motionless beneath torn plating. "Leave me," she said. Not pleading. Commanding. Kessler activated her medical scanner. A lattice of green light mapped the alien's internal structure. The results streamed across her HUD. Spinal conduit severed. Lower motor clusters unresponsive. Multiple internal ruptures. Hemolymph loss critical. Probability of survival without advanced surgical intervention, 8%. Probability during field extraction over hostile terrain, 1%. She wasn't just injured. She was paralyzed. The alien's luminous patterns dimmed further. "My fleet has withdrawn," she said quietly. "I am strategically expendable." Kessler's comm crackled briefly. "All human units withdraw. Do not engage recovery of hostile command assets. Repeat. Abandon." Static swallowed the rest. Her scanner confirmed it. The alien wouldn't survive standard extraction. Protocol was clear. Evacuate. Preserve human life. Do not compromise mission parameters for enemy combatants. The alien's gaze held steady, waiting for the inevitable. Kessler looked at the shattered sky above them, then back at the dying commander, and ignored the protocol. Like hell, Kessler muttered. She slid her arms beneath the Varelian commander's upper torso, careful of the fractured plating and the limp lower limbs that refused to respond. The exosuit servos whined as she increased load support, warnings flaring amber across her visor. Structural strain rising. Recommended action. Disengage. Recommendation denied, she said under her breath. She lifted. The alien was heavier than she looked, dense, her semi-organic armor layered over a reinforced skeletal lattice evolved for higher gravity. Kessler staggered one step, adjusted her footing, then locked her knees and stabilized. The alien's eyes narrowed. You reduce your own survival probability, she observed calmly. Your species values efficiency. Yeah, Kessler grunted. We also value not being jerks. That is not a strategic metric. Maybe it should be. She shifted the alien more securely against her chest. The commander's upper arms instinctively braced against Kessler's shoulders, though the lower pair hung useless. You misunderstand, the alien said. Compassion toward a defeated enemy is weakness. Kessler started moving toward the fractured exit of the bastion. Where I'm from, she replied, stepping over a shattered control console, leaving someone to die when you could have helped. That's weakness. A tremor rippled through the floating platform. Far below, something massive detonated, sending a shockwave through the fractured structure. You will not reach safety in time, the alien warned. Extraction craft will not delay for you. Then I'll find another ride. You are illogical, human. Kessler flashed a tight grin beneath her visor. Yeah, she said. It's kind of our thing. For a moment, silence stretched between them, broken only by the wind and the distant groan of collapsing architecture. You know I commanded the assault that destroyed your outer defense grid, the alien said. Yeah, Kessler replied evenly. And you did a hell of a job. The alien blinked. That is, not hostility. Professional respect, Kessler corrected. You're good. Doesn't mean you deserve to die under a pile of rocks. The commander studied her closely now, not as prey, not as an enemy, as something unexpected. You risk court-martial, she said. Wouldn't be my first bad performance review. A faint flicker passed through the alien's bioluminescent patterns, subtle but warmer. You are anomalous, she murmured. Story of my life. Another tremor shook the bastion. Debris rained down behind them as the central dais finally gave way. Kessler tightened her hold and pushed forward into the smoke-filled corridor. For the first time since the battle began, the Varelian commander did not look entirely certain. And for the first time since she'd been buried in rubble. She wasn't alone. Kessler had nearly reached the outer transit ring when her HUD flared crimson. 3 fast-moving signatures, vectoring straight toward them. The Varelian commander's upper hands tightened slightly against Kessler's armor as her luminous markings sharpened. Reclamation patrol, she whispered. They hunt in triangular formations. Kessler ducked behind a collapsed gravrail support, lowering her gently against the fractured wall while keeping one arm braced around her torso. Good, Kessler said, adjusting her aim. I hate straight lines. The first soldier emerged through the smoke, sleek carapace armor, plasma glaive humming in a lethal arc. It advanced directly, confident. Do not fire at the center, the commander murmured. It drives you toward the flank. Right on cue, 2 more heat signatures flickered, one elevated along a broken catwalk, the other circling wide through the debris field. Kessler exhaled slowly. She pivoted upward and fired first. The Gauss rifle cracked like thunder. The elevated sniper shimmered into view as the slug tore through its shoulder joint, sending it crashing from the catwalk. The central soldier lunged. Now, the commander said sharply. Kessler rolled left instead of retreating, dragging the alien just enough to disrupt the predictive path. She fired mid-roll, catching the flanking unit as it burst from cover. Explosion. Fragments rained down in a hiss of molten alloy. Only the glaive wielder remained. It accelerated. 2 strides before it commits to thrust, the commander said. Copy. 1. Kessler steadied her stance. 2. The alien raised its weapon. 3. Kessler charged. You are absurd, the commander said. Working on it. At the last second, Kessler dropped low. The plasma glaive sliced empty air. She drove the rifle barrel upward beneath the alien's thoracic seam and fired. The impact detonated through the soldier's core. It collapsed in a spray of sparks. Silence settled again. Kessler rose slowly, scanning for additional contacts. Behind her, the commander's bioluminescent patterns pulsed brighter, stronger. You deviated from optimal defensive doctrine, she observed. Yeah, Kessler replied, helping her upright against her shoulder again. But I had optimal intel. A faint shimmer passed across the commander's features, almost amusement. Impressive shooting, she breathed. Kessler smirked beneath her visor. Impressive tactical brain. Their eyes met, human brown against alien midnight blue. For the first time since the bastion fell, they weren't soldier and burden. They were synchronized. And the battlefield felt a little less one-sided. Kessler had nearly reached the outer transit ring when her HUD flared crimson. 3 fast-moving signatures, vectoring straight toward them. The Varelian commander's upper hands tightened slightly against Kessler's armor as her luminous markings sharpened. Reclamation patrol, she whispered. They hunt in triangular formations. Kessler ducked behind a collapsed gravrail support, lowering her gently against the fractured wall while keeping one arm braced around her torso. Good, Kessler said, adjusting her aim. I hate straight lines. The first soldier emerged through the smoke, sleek carapace armor, plasma glaive humming in a lethal arc. It advanced directly, confident. Do not fire at the center, the commander murmured. It drives you toward the flank. Right on cue, 2 more heat signatures flickered, one elevated along a broken catwalk, the other circling wide through the debris field. Kessler exhaled slowly. She pivoted upward and fired first. The Gauss rifle cracked like thunder. The elevated sniper shimmered into view as the slug tore through its shoulder joint, sending it crashing from the catwalk. The central soldier lunged. Now, the commander said sharply. Kessler rolled left instead of retreating, dragging the alien just enough to disrupt the predictive path. She fired mid-roll, catching the flanking unit as it burst from cover. Explosion. Fragments rained down in a hiss of molten alloy. Only the glaive wielder remained. It accelerated. 2 strides before it commits to thrust, the commander said. Copy. 1. Kessler steadied her stance. 2. The alien raised its weapon. 3. Kessler charged. You are absurd, the commander said. Working on it. At the last second, Kessler dropped low. The plasma glaive sliced empty air. She drove the rifle barrel upward beneath the alien's thoracic seam and fired. The impact detonated through the soldier's core. It collapsed in a spray of sparks. Silence settled again. Kessler rose slowly, scanning for additional contacts. Behind her, the commander's bioluminescent patterns pulsed brighter, stronger. You deviated from optimal defensive doctrine, she observed. Yeah, Kessler replied, helping her upright against her shoulder again. But I had optimal intel. A faint shimmer passed across the commander's features, almost amusement. Impressive shooting, she breathed. Kessler smirked beneath her visor. Impressive tactical brain. Their eyes met, human brown against alien midnight blue. For the first time since the bastion fell, they weren't soldier and burden. They were synchronized. And the battlefield felt a little less one-sided. The ancient Varelian core ignited like a second sun beneath the bastion. Light flooded the transit ring, not burning, not blinding, alive. It threaded through Kessler's armor, through fractured crystal, through the broken body cradled against her. Mara gasped as something vast brushed her mind. Star paths. Fleet algorithms. Centuries of Varelian command doctrine. And beneath it, her. The commander's consciousness unfolded against Kessler's like overlapping constellations. Cool. Structured. Brilliant. He felt her thoughts before she spoke them. Left flank. 3 incoming. Elevated. I see it, Kessler answered automatically. But she hadn't checked her HUD. She didn't need to. Energy laced up her spine. The microfracture in her knee sealed as crystalline filaments overlaid her exosuit. Diagnostic warnings vanished, replaced by unfamiliar glyphs integrating seamlessly with her own interface. Across from her, the commander's lower body shimmered. Severed neural conduits reformed in threads of turquoise light. The paralysis that had rendered her immobile flickered, and then dissolved. All 4 arms flexed experimentally as strength returned. She stood. Not unsteady. Regal. The reclamation reinforcements burst into the transit ring. Kessler didn't raise her rifle consciously. She felt his trigger pull before he fired. The first Gauss round curved, not physically, but tactically, because she had already calculated the enemy's stagger pattern. Kessler shifted left as the commander pivoted right, their movements meshing without hesitation. They moved, not as 2 beings, but as a single will. A heavy assault drone descended from above, cannons charging. 2.4 seconds before discharge, the commander projected. On it. Kessler sprinted forward while the commander extended both upper arms. A pulse of alien energy surged along the rifle's rails, overclocking it beyond factory limits. She fired. The round pierced the drone's central processor exactly as its cannons ignited. The explosion detonated midair, shockwave rippling harmlessly around them as if guided. 2 soldiers attempted a flanking maneuver. Kessler ducked before they fired, because she felt the commander's anticipation. The commander spun, lower arms catching one attacker's weapon while Kessler eliminated the other with a precise burst. Silence fell like a curtain. Smoldering wreckage littered the transit ring. Mara stood at the center of it, breath steady, pulse synchronized with the luminous rhythm beside her. The commander turned, bioluminescent patterns blazing brighter than before. Through their shared awareness, Kessler felt something new. Not superiority. Not dominance. Partnership. The battlefield had changed. Not because a human was stronger. Not because an alien evolved. But because stubborn compassion had fused 2 species into something neither enemy could predict. And together, they were unstoppable. The reclamation fleet broke formation first. Through the shared lattice of their minds, Kessler felt it, confusion rippling through Varelian command channels, hesitation fracturing tactical certainty. Reports of the ancient core's activation spread like shockwaves. A paralyzed commander restored was alarming enough. A human integrated into Varelian neural architecture? That was unprecedented. Dropships retreated. Orbital weapons powered down. The battle didn't end in a decisive strike. It paused. Kessler stood on the fractured edge of the bastion, smoke curling past her visor. Beside her, the Varelian commander radiated controlled brilliance, no longer broken, no longer expendable. But something in their bond shifted. Subtle. Deep. The commander went still. "There's something you should know," she said quietly. Mara turned toward her. Before the words fully formed, she felt it. A faint current beneath their synchronized awareness. Not her thoughts. Not mine, Kessler realized. A third presence. Small. Unformed. Not fear. Potential. Her breath caught. "That's new," she said softly. "Yes." The commander's luminous markings dimmed slightly, not in weakness, but in awe. "The core was designed to preserve lineage during extinction events," she explained. "When 2 compatible neural matrices synchronize at full depth, it may initiate continuance." Kessler blinked. "Define initiate." "It begins life." The words hung in the charged air between them. Through the bond, Mara felt the tiny spark more clearly now, like the first pulse of a distant star. Fragile. Curious. Alive. "A hybrid?" she asked. "More than hybrid," the commander replied. "Integrated. Balanced." Political projections flooded their shared awareness. Human command would demand containment, study, oversight. Varelian purists would call it corruption of bloodlines. Hardliners on both sides would see threat before possibility. Kessler exhaled slowly. "And what do you see?" she asked. The commander looked toward the horizon where human and Varelian ships now held careful distance instead of firing. "I see evolution," she said. "Not through conquest. Through convergence." The small presence pulsed again, faint but steady. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't leverage. It was proof. Proof that survival didn't require supremacy. That unity could be stronger than annihilation. Above them, the two fleets hovered in uneasy truce. No one fired. Because somewhere on the ruins of a shattered bastion, something had happened neither side had prepared for. A child had begun. And with it, a future neither species could claim alone. Months later, the battlefield was a memory. The Varelian sky bastion no longer drifted in fractured ruin. Reconstruction lattices shimmered across its superstructure, human steel interwoven with living alien crystal. Where cannons once lined the horizon, joint observation arrays rotated in calm synchronization. Where there had once been war, there was collaboration. It hadn't happened overnight. Human admirals had argued over security risks. Varelian elders had protested the sanctity of their neural lineage. News networks on both sides had debated whether integration was bravery or betrayal. But results silenced rhetoric. Shared technology stabilized frontier sectors once ravaged by conflict. Combined patrols reduced piracy. Trade corridors reopened. Casualties dropped to zero for the first time in decades. In a quiet chamber at the heart of the restored bastion, bioluminescent walls pulsed in gentle rhythm. Mara Kessler stood without armor now, her Gauss rifle replaced by a simple diplomatic insignia pinned to her uniform. The neural bond she shared with the Varelian commander had settled into something steady, less overwhelming than during battle, but deeper. Permanent. Beside her, the commander, no longer confined by injury, radiated composed strength, though her luminous markings softened with something warmer than command authority. Between them rested a cradle grown from living crystal. Inside, their child stirred. Small hands, too human, too slender Varelian, flexed experimentally. Fine translucent crests shimmered along a rounded brow. Soft bioluminescent veins traced delicate constellations beneath faintly tanned skin. Golden blue eyes opened. Curious. Aware. Through the bond, Mara felt the commanders all like sunlight through glass. "This child will inherit two histories," the commander said softly. "Yeah," Mara replied. "Let's hope they inherit the good parts." A faint pulse brushed their shared awareness, tiny but confident. Outside the chamber, human and Varelian delegates negotiated joint governance frameworks instead of battle strategies. Training academies exchanged cadets. Young officers studied not how to defeat the other species, but how to coordinate with them. Their child was proof that survival wasn't the pinnacle of evolution. Unity was. Mara remembered the acrid scent of plasma that day. The silence after the screaming stopped. The flicker of her HUD telling her no one else was left. She had walked into that ruin alone. Now, as four small fingers wrapped instinctively around hers and bioluminescent light intertwined with human warmth, she knew one unshakable truth. She would never be alone again.